Welcome, everyone, back to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig, joined by Jeff, and today we're looking ahead at waivers. So everyone knows who the waiver pickups were this week. You spent money on Jerome Ford or, guys like that. Matt Breida name came back up and stuff. We're not going to do our waivers like that this year because everyone knows those names, and we're not telling you information you don't know, right? What we want to do this year is find the guys who maybe are going under the radar right now that can make your difference. Maybe not this week, but in the future. So we did this, the first iteration of this episode a couple weeks ago, and hopefully there were some names on there. I think we talked about Puka. We talked about Marvin Mims and Jaden Reed and Kyron Williams. We talked about Kyron Williams on the episode, not believing in Cam Akers. And I didn't expect it to play out like it did so quickly, but it did. Like, I remember bringing up Kyron and that, like, hey, you never know, like throw him on your team because obviously they don't love Cam Akers, and that that happened quick. So that's what we're gonna try to do: throw some names out there that they've shown some signs of interesting stuff that could break out in the future. Because some of these guys will. Some of these guys will absolutely do that. That's what happens every year. So I will throw out first name. This is gonna be a repeat because I just want to still get it out there. Marvin Mims. I want to throw him out there again because, yes, he had a big week last week in very few plays and very few targets. He wasn't on a lot of waiver wire lists this week. He still only owned in 8.2% of ESPN leagues. 8.2. That's it. And the problem is he had, I think, 4 targets. Let me see. I have the targets in front of me. It was 2 targets. He had, or 4 targets. No, 4 targets all year. That's all he has. All year is 4 targets. That's it. That's not many. But he has 4 catches for 122 and a touchdown. That happens a lot where people, maybe they're not getting the targets. They will come if he produces when he gets those 4 targets, right? So Marvin Mims, he's sitting on your bench yet on our league.
Oh, yeah.
Not going to get rid of him. It's just, you can see him getting a bigger role, right? Jerry Jeudy came back, didn't do much. Cortland Sutton, not doing a lot, right? Like, you can see Mims getting more and more of a role.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, and they are improved from what they were doing last year. I'm not saying that they're, amazing, but they're definitely better. And, the same reasons we liked him in the preseason or the same reasons we wanted you to draft him is the same thing now. He was guaranteed to become the number 3. Has that speed. He's already shown it. I'm actually kind of surprised his numbers haven't jumped up more already. Right. I think people just don't believe it, but I think that I think that he's going to be a really integral piece, and it's really nice to have a home run threat if you have a guy like that, because you can find guys that are like going to catch 4 or 5 balls or whatever, but do they have the touchdown upside? So Mims does, and that's why I really like him.
And Mims can get that deep ball, and Russell Wilson still throws an awesome deep ball. He does.
He's not a lost cause. I don't know what happened to him last year, but you can see it kind of coming back on that deep ball to him. It was kind of one of those where he kind of still felt like he was placing it like don't miss, but he hit him in stride. So oh man,
I think it's 8% owned. That's it.
Yeah,
absolutely have him on your bench. Another receiver, another rookie. There's gonna be a lot of young guys because that's really what they're going to be right now. If they're a few years in, they probably aren't going to make it anymore. So Tank Dell, I like Tank Dell, and he's getting overshadowed by Nico Collins, who's had an awesome start. But Tank Dell in week 2, 7 catches for 72 yards and a touchdown. But that's nice. But 10 targets, that's really nice. So 14 targets in 2 games. That's pretty interesting. That's why I like to look at some of these guys early on. He's very involved. And to be honest, CJ Stroud has been better than Bryce Young so far.
Yeah, he's been better. He's been better than I thought he was going to be.
So Tank Dell, I'm very curious to see if this continues. But you get 10 targets in week 2. That's something.
I know. And also with Stroud and everything going on, like it helps too, because my Nico Collins love actually was was good. What was that?
Something's in here trying to get you. But no, Nico's looked really good. It's he's definitely started to become a player actually. And he got an Ohio State quarterback throwing the ball to him, a Michigan receiver.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a little bit, and that teams like that, there's a lot of timeshare to kind of pick up.
Yeah.
And he was a big wide receiver that needed a little time to develop.
I think they're going to need to throw the ball a little bit this year. The run game can't do anything. Dameon Pierce, not it. I think we told you all that. Not to do it.
Right.
It's not going to happen there, so they're going to throw it. I think he's going to get his opportunities. Another guy, let's throw another receiver. Rashid Shaheed. I didn't talk about him a lot, but he was one of my targets in some of our leagues. I like the guy, and it seems like the Saints do too.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely looking for him. The targets aren't huge. He has 10 in 2 games, but 5 for 89, 4 for 63. He has a touchdown. They definitely look for him though. He's a fun player, and again, he's not going to be the guy. Chris Olave is awesome, so he's not. This other guy's going to take over, but I like the player. I think he's definitely interesting. Obviously, like Marvin Mims, I'd like more for potential, but I like Shaheed. I think he's definitely going to be involved in the offense, and he can have a pretty decent role there, I think. So Rashid Shaheed, I'm a fan. More young guys. Jaden Reed, still not.
We still don't know how that is going to shake out in Green Bay, but he was another guy that we talked about grabbing, I think, in week 1 because of all the injuries and is it Dubs, is it Christian Watson when he comes back, all that stuff. Reed showed himself, so you kind of have 3 guys vying for it.
Yep.
Same thing with Dubs. So I like that one.
And he got the 2 touchdowns. He's had 13 targets in 2 games. I think 6 for 95. Hey, you like to see those little bit. And Jordan Love is playing better than people might have anticipated.
Yeah, I don't know if that is as sustainable. I mean, he's had 6 touchdowns in 2 games. But once again, it feels like it changes who is the primary wide receiver every game. You're playing musical chairs, but you hope you end with the right one. So if it was up to you, do you like Jalen Reed or Romeo Dubs? If you only could pick one of those.
Reed. I think we know what Dubs is. And I think he's not, he's fine.
Yeah. He's only owned in 30% of leagues too. So, and he caught 2 touchdowns the first week. Yep. So,
I like Reed. I think there's more there with Reed. I'll throw a couple more rookies just to show them what they're. Jonathan Mingo, 8 targets in 2 weeks. I don't know if I love what the Panthers are doing, so I wouldn't that one. Mm-hmm. But you can see him having the opportunity though to get more of a role because it's Thielen and it's Chark. Like Mingo, if he can play a little bit, Bryce Young can start to play a little bit. There's potential, but it's not there yet. Josh Downs has 12 targets for the Colts in 2 weeks. I like that. Yep.
Yeah, Downs is my boy. Yep. I worry. Actually, Richardson has been a lot better than I thought he was going to be.
Yes.
And egg in my face, whatever. I wasn't willing to take that risk. He's good, but now he's in concussion protocol, so we'll find out. But Downs was the real deal as far as slot wide receiver, and I think he is a little bit quarterback proof. But my fear about him early on was I didn't think he was going to catch on maybe quite as fast, so you kind of had to get him early, which I did, but. Is he going to have that touchdown upside? Because I still don't think that offense is going to be that great without they're just running with Richardson for the most part. So, but yeah, I love the upside of him. I mean, I think that as far as wide receiver and being able to catch the ball and run clean routes and get open in the NFL, he's definitely already shown that he has it.
And then I got one final receiver, and this one's it's probably just not as interesting as the rookies really and the young guys. He's been around a couple more years. Kendrick Bourne. And it's because he has 20 targets in 2 games.
The classic New England.
Yeah.
What's going to happen with this wide receiver?
If you watch that game, like he had the 20 targets, so he only had 4 catches for 29 against Miami. But watching that game, I don't even know what the air yards are, but they have to be high because they were going for him a lot. Mm-hmm. And first week he had 6 for 64 and 2 touchdowns. He seems like he's going to be getting a lot of catches there. And see, it's not as interesting maybe as some of these other names. They have more potential probably, but Bourne could be in for a good season. And if they keep targeting him like that, this has been some good teams they're playing, Philly and Miami to start the year, and he has 20 targets in 2 weeks. If they start connecting a little bit more, it could be really interesting. So Kendrick Bourne, again, the rookies are always more interesting because there's so much more potential.
Yeah.
But this is one of those under the radar type guys that could just be solid for you if it starts to connect a little more.
I will bring up 2 more wide receivers. One, this is more of a little, I know we're going definitely for the future, but I think for the next probably 5 weeks or so, if you just need someone to show up and be halfway decent, both of these guys are going to be Detroit. But Josh Reynolds, I think it'll be a little up and down, but he's shown himself to be the number 2 behind Amon-Ra. He's been good. He's the number 9 wide receiver at the moment.
It's crazy.
And he's only owned in 26% of leagues or whatever. So if you want to put him on your bench and you can actually use him right away, that's amazing. The other one, though, is the reason I say that is because the guy I really want is Jameson Williams. And he has a 6-game suspension. They're rehabbing him anyway. So by the time he hits week 4, he's going to be getting into shape. I don't know if now is the time for you, for whatever league you have, but he's owned in 16% of leagues already, which is kind of crazy for a guy that's going to miss another 4 weeks. But at some point you want to put him on your bench and you have to get him early. So if now is the time you have to do it, that is kind of where I would want to go, because I think he's one of those guys that has, if Josh Reynolds is doing this, if he stays healthy, this guy could be the real deal. So he's another one, kind of like a Mims with more target share. So that he's probably my number 1 that I would want to get, but sitting him for another 4 weeks kind of sucks.
It does, but if you can, it's a good move. Josh Reynolds' part, he's 26% owned. That's after waivers have already run in all these leagues. So it's still not very high.
No, he jumped up. I think he was owned in 1% before.
So he's still out there in a lot of leagues, and he will be. I mean, Amon-Ra, we don't know his status for this weekend. It could be a really good game for Josh Reynolds. Really good.
And we already mentioned, too, Laporta is already owned in a lot of leagues. You can't talk about him on waivers, but we talked about him on buy low.
He could be out there yet in leagues.
But, he could. He might. You definitely want to check him out for tight ends, but I think a lot of people picked him up to fill in, and then they just are keeping him now. But he's another one that...
he's at 56% roster, so he's still available in quite a bit.
So he's another one that you can take on those extra targets.
All right, so I got a couple running backs. Not as many running backs, obviously. Rashawn Johnson. I'll throw him out there again. Herbert hasn't got it's just... Chicago's not been playing well. I think Herbert's a great player. It's just not been there yet. And Johnson it's now clear number 2. Foreman was inactive, so that's huge. Right before we were talking about before the year was a 3-headed thing. Now it's only 2. And you could definitely, you can see the situation where they decide to go with the rookie. You can see that happening at some point, can't you? Just the way these things work. And he's been solid. 5 for 20 in the first game, 5 carries, 20 yards and touchdown. He had 6 catches. And then he had 4 for 32 in game 2. Something's there. And he's not, because the numbers aren't huge, he's still only owned in 30% of leagues. So if they turn things around and Johnson gets more work, you can see that being a pretty good pickup. So that's one for me. And the other one, I think there's something here. Tyjae Spears.
He's the one guy I actually would go hard after.
Yeah.
And I know the whole argument is going to be if Henry's there, he's not valuable. But sing his praises, because I think he's
a good player. Yep. And I think the Titans know that, because in week 2, he had 10 touches. How many other running backs that are playing with Derrick Henry get 10 touches with a healthy Derrick Henry? That doesn't happen. They know there's something there. And 8 carries for 49 yards, and he got 2 catches. In week 1, he had 3 for 27. So it's 11 carries. His yards per carry is really good. With limited touch, 6.9 yards per carry this year. So that's 10 touches though for a Derrick Henry backup is really good. If Derrick Henry, this is the kind of player though you want on your bench, because if Derrick Henry were to go down at some point, I think Spears is going to be really good. And then you don't have to go spend all of your FAAB to go get him.
Yeah, because that's what you would do.
If Derrick Henry got hurt, Spears is going to be one of those guys that you could recommend 100% FAAB right now.
Yep.
That's exactly what we would do. We would recommend it 100%. But I'd go get him now. He absolutely should be on rosters. And if you have a spot, he's 13% owned. This is the kind of guy you get. That absolutely with an injury. That's all these running backs are. There's not a lot of them, though, that I look at like an injury and like, okay, for sure this guy's going to be that great. Because even this past week, Chubb gets hurt, which sucks, right?
Yeah, that hurts.
But Jerome Ford should be good, but I'm not all the way there. I mean, obviously they signed Kareem Hunt. I don't know if Kareem Hunt has
I'm not
it.
gonna lie, I would pick Kareem Hunt up.
Yeah. So
Look, I mean, the guy. I mean, once again, I look at the
Yeah.
same thing, and I was like, dude, Kareem Hunt is plug and play for them. I'm thinking that it won't happen this week, or maybe
No,
not.
but
once again,
like-
who's the safest player to take up
Yeah.
that role? Him.
but this kind of situation, Tyjae Spears would be the guy.
Yeah, oh yeah, he would. And they drafted him for a reason. Like
Yeah.
coming out of there, he went to Tulane. He was a little smaller school,
Yeah.
all of that, and he had some knocks against him. I think just health wise and stuff like that. But he was one of the better running backs. Obviously, you had Bijan, right? You had a couple of these other guys, Jamar Gibbs,
Mhm.
but he was in that consideration for like number 3. Like, and on a team that runs this much, on a Derrick Henry that is getting older,
Mm-hmm.
that has been injured before. I mean, he's a freak of nature, but even Derrick Henry can get hurt. He had 25 carries last game, and Tajay had 8?
Yeah, 8 carries.
I mean, they're running the crap out of the ball.
Yeah.
They have not been able to pass the ball. They're gonna do that. So even if Derrick Henry is healthy, there's a possibility that Tajay Spears could have real ability to eat into that, because you also want to keep Derrick Henry healthy. Like, there's no reason you really have to give him 25 carries if you don't have to. Like, if they
Not when you
cap
have a
him
guy
at
like that.
15 to 20, that I guarantee they would rather do that.
They haven't had that kind of guy. Last year the backup was Haskins. Haskins he was a Michigan guy. I like him, but he's not that. He's not Spears. Spears has something else. So I don't really have any other guys that I'm looking at yet at running back. I don't know if you have any others.
No, Tajay Spears was a big one. And I do like Kareem Hunt. I think he was a very cheap, once again, you can get him for nothing, very cheap waiver that, let's see how Cleveland reacts to all this. I have a feeling you go to the veteran that would have been really good without him last year. And we'll
I guess if you're really in a really bad situation this week, really bad, you could look at Craig Reynolds from the Lions. I just don't.
Nah, yeah. I mean,
you'd have to be really bad. I'm actually more interested in Bam Knight, who they just elevated from the practice squad. Knight actually played well for the Jets last year. So he's interesting to me, because we don't know. Is he going to miss a game, 2 games? Who knows, right? But it's not a long-term thing. But Bam Knight's interesting because he played well last year.
Yeah.
But I don't think you'd have to be hurting big time to go like with Craig Reynolds. So not going to do it. But all right, there's all my guys for this week. We'll keep trying to find these guys that are under the radar, help you out, get them before they go for an insane amount of money like Jerome Ford did the other day.
Yeah.
So, all right, that'll do it for this one. Talk to you guys next time.